welcome to Joburg Today. My name is Maps. Climate change is recognized globally as a potential threat to environmental and economic development. Our crew went to the media briefing for Johannesburg issuing of its first green bond.
The city of Johannesburg issued the first green bond, certainly on the African continent, and the first to be in the municipal sector, and certainly the first to be listed on the stock exchange. And we thought it's important as part of our commitments, not just about extending services to people, but extending services in a manner that reduces the impact on the atmosphere, reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. So the green bond is intended to finance programs that are targeted at mitigating the impact of climate change.
We're looking at a number of projects that we've basically implemented. Your biogas to energy, your landfill gas to energy, the recycling, deviating waste from landfill sites to more adopting more alternative waste treatment technologies. The rain seasons are much longer due to climate change and much heavier. And obviously our stormwater drainage system was not structured or developed in such a way that it can respond to that. So now we're actually more future looking in terms of how we actually carry out our activities as a municipality when we roll out infrastructure. The
bond issue has been auctioned, so it's transparently auctioned to capital investment markets. So people come in a period of 2 hours and they bid for portions of the bond.
This money is a use for proceed bond, meaning that is purely targeted at only those projects that will be responding to the green initiatives.
The city's green bond has raised funds to respond comprehensively to climate change and sustainable management of resources.
Out of all the C40 cities' climate leadership groups, Johannesburg is the first to issue a green bond, with the aim of raising funds to help respond comprehensively to climate change and the sustainable management of resources, continuing to develop itself into a world-class city. I am Buitumelo Lerato Kwena for Joburg Today.
This is Yolanda, and you're watching Joburg Today.
If there's something that you'd like to see on this show, keep in touch with us through social media by following us on Twitter at Joburg Today, liking our Facebook page, joburgtoday.tv, and don't forget, hashtag Joburg Today. If you'd like to avoid the traffic of Johannesburg, why not try the Gautrain? We chat to the CEO.
Gautrain started its life in 1997. We decided to build it as a public-private partnership. We started construction on the 28th of September 2006. We were told to be ready for the soccer, so we finished the airport Sandton Link on the 8th of June 2010. We, 2 years ago, opened the full system. We're currently running 62,000 passengers per day, so it's about 1.3, 1.4 million passengers a month. And our buses are transporting between 350 and 400,000 passengers per month. We will now, within the next month, we'll introduce an earlier and a later airport service. So, and because there is a great need for people that catch the early flights, they can't make it, and then they are scared when they come home. If the last train is at 8:30 and your flight's delayed, you're in trouble. We do a public perception audit every 6 months, where we get a feedback from the public. On the positive side, they love the security, they love the cleanliness. The part they don't like is maybe the strictness about eating on the train, and the question of when a train is delayed, how do you get information? Because if the train is stopped, what happens? We find our customers are becoming very price sensitive. So if there's an increase in the fuel price, we see a jump in the case of the e-tolls. Our ridership jumped by 13,000 passengers a day. The Gautrain must be more expensive than existing public transport, but less expensive than private car use. So within that band, we can then move the fares, and we try to keep the fare increase to about inflation. The big demand is to run from the east of Pretoria, from Mamelodi, on a 45-degree line past Midrand, past Cosmo City, to the west of Johannesburg to Naledi. So that would then actually link Soweto to Mamelodi, and then you would have this. And that would be about 140 kilometers of track. We've appointed consultants and we're busy doing the planning now.
I'm Bryce Nicholson and you're watching Joburg Today.
Nishina chats to economist Chris Hart about the new budget for the city of Johannesburg.
Joining me in studio now is Chief Economist of Investment Solutions, Chris Hart. Welcome to Joburg Today.
Thank you very much.
A lot of attention being given to Gauteng's ambitious budget of 47.1 billion rand, of which the city of Johannesburg will get the lion's share. How ambitious it is when it comes to infrastructure development, because the city has this objective of developing itself to become a global city region.
No, I think it's interesting because it's got all the ingredients to become a city region. But when we then look at the budget and we say, well, what is it trying to do? Infrastructure development, often it's social infrastructure that we're talking about, as opposed to economic infrastructure that we're dealing with. So it's water to houses and electricity to houses and that kind of thing, which of course is important from a quality of living point of view. A good city does actually have those things, but actually making space for more business, not so sure. When we actually then look at the budget, remember a budget is a choices, how we're making to allocate money. Are we tilting the balance at the margin towards investment or towards consumption? And that's an important question to ask, because tilting it towards investment says, okay, we're serious about dealing with things like unemployment, etc. Whereas if you're tilting it towards consumption, your social wage issues kind of thing, then you actually still are more on the poverty alleviation. Poverty alleviation is more about consumption, whereas poverty reduction is more about investment. Very, very different. And I think our budgets are still very entrenched in poverty alleviation, and that we're not looking at poverty reduction. You know, just something like the e-toll system is one example where you're not investing back into your tax base, but you're using the tax base as an unlimited resource.
And we all know how Joburgers feel about that e-tolls.
No, exactly. So we need to be reforming that to say, how can we reduce the cost of doing business in Johannesburg? And we're not doing that. We're raising the costs, because we're taking the tax base for granted. And that is making this region less competitive, not more. In the Johannesburg city budget, for instance, they raised the rates and taxes portion. And that's after they've revalued the properties. So they're going to get an enormous jump in revenues from that as a consequence. And that is into a recession. In other words, we've seen a tax hike into a recession, and most the empirical evidence suggests that to help resolve a recession, you need tax cuts.
That's right.
Because that actually generates more demand in the economy.
If you have to compare to last year's budget, are we seeing any efforts being made to reduce expenditure?
No, none. In other words, expenditure is seen as sacrosanct, and the actual tax base will meet that expenditure, thank you very much, and it doesn't matter what condition that tax base is. And that is definitely anti-growth.
Thank you so much, Chris.
How's it? This is Dominic Oliver and you're watching Joburg Today.
Check out the special focus section to see what is happening in and around Johannesburg. To see where Joburg is heading, check out Joburg Tomorrow. That's it from me, Maps. I leave you with Bright Lights by Just Ginger.
Back in ETV. You can only find the great white light when you're not looking, and you should only look when you're willing to see what's surrounding you. Please come on, don't look away, it'll all come back to haunt you. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to believe in you. You can take control again. You can be the change, my friend, when you see through who you are. You can have it all. You can become whole again. You know that's what you need. You know that's what you want. And yet you find another lover, baby. You can wait patiently, and you will see there is love in your heart. Come on, don't look away. It'll all come back to haunt you. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to believe in you. You can take control again. You can be the change, my friend, if you see through who you are. You can have it all. You can become whole again. You know that's what you need. You know that's what you want. You know that's what you are. You can take control again when you see through who you are.